Have you ever noticed your feet tingle worse on the nights you skipped dinner entirely, or ate whatever was fastest instead of what actually served your body? I'm Robert. I'm 83, diabetic for more than 20 years, and I want to walk you through 7 foods I actually keep in my kitchen. Not a fad list, not something I saw once and forgot, that have real research behind their connection to nerve and blood sugar health. I'll count them down, and the 7th is the one that surprised me most when I first learned why it mattered. I still carry my own groceries in from the car without needing help, both arms loaded. I climb my own porch steps every day without gripping the railing like my life depends on it. I tell you that because everything else here means more coming from someone who actually lives it. Before the list, you need to understand what these foods are actually fighting, because a list without a mechanism is just trivia. When blood sugar runs high for years, glucose molecules attach to proteins throughout your body in a process called glycation, something researchers have studied since the early 2000s as a central mechanism behind diabetic complications. It damages the long nerves running to your feet and the tiny blood vessels that keep them supplied with oxygen. Research has consistently linked this process to the tingling, burning, and numbness so many of us know far too well. Here's the thing almost nobody tells you at that 8-minute appointment. There isn't just one food that fixes this. There are 7 specific working together, and I'm about to walk you through every one of them, worst to best, because the 7th surprised even me when I first understood the reasoning behind it. If your feet burn at night, or go numb, or feel cold no matter how many socks you wear, please don't ignore it. I almost did. And I'm 80 years old. For years I told myself it was just age, the tingling, the heaviness in my legs climbing the stairs. But it wasn't age. It was my blood sugar quietly damaging the nerves and the circulation in my legs, and almost nobody warned me in time. If you let it keep going, those little signals turn into something you can't undo. I wasn't willing to lose my feet or my independence. So I started doing one thing every single day to help support healthy blood sugar and protect my legs. I'll show you exactly what in this video. And if you want the simple support I personally use, there's a free presentation linked in the description below. Number 7. Flaxseed, ground, not whole, a tablespoon or 2 stirred into oatmeal or yogurt. Ground flaxseed is rich in soluble fiber, which slows the absorption of glucose into your bloodstream after a meal, blunting the kind of sharp spike that does the most damage to nerves over time. Number 6. Fenugreek seeds, often brewed as a tea or added to soups. Research has associated fenugreek with more favorable fasting blood sugar readings, likely tied to its own fiber content slowing digestion in a similar way to flaxseed. Number 5. Dark chocolate. 70% cacao or higher, a small square, not a candy bar. Dark chocolate carries flavonols shown in research to support the function of the endothelium, the inner lining of your blood vessels, which matters directly for the microcirculation feeding your feet. It also carries a meaningful amount of magnesium, roughly 64 milligrams per ounce, according to nutrition data, a mineral tied to healthy insulin function. Number 4. Tart cherries, either whole or as unsweetened juice. Tart cherries are rich in anthocyanins, compounds researchers have studied for their anti-inflammatory properties, and they carry a modest natural source of melatonin, which may support the kind of deep sleep your body needs to regulate blood sugar hormones overnight. Number 3. Cottage cheese, especially at dinner. It's rich in casein, a slow-digesting protein that research on nighttime protein intake shows releases amino acids gradually over hours of sleep, rather than spiking quickly, helping keep blood sugar steadier through the exact hours when nerve damage compounds quietly. Number 2. Fatty, cold water fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines, a couple of times a week. These carry omega-3 fatty acids, which researchers have studied for their role in supporting nerve membrane health and reducing the kind of low-grade inflammation that worsens nerve damage over time. And number 1, the one that surprised me most, plain Greek yogurt, unsweetened, with live cultures. Beyond its protein content, which behaves similarly to cottage cheese in slowing digestion, research has connected a healthy gut microbiome, which fermented dairy supports, to better overall blood sugar regulation, a connection scientists have only more recently begun to map in detail. Your doctor almost certainly never sat you down with this list. It's not because any of it is controversial, it's because a typical appointment runs somewhere around 8 minutes, barely enough time to review your numbers and adjust medication, let alone build out a grocery list with the reasoning behind each item. That conversation falls through the cracks of a system stretched too thin, visit after visit. I want to be honest that no single food on this list works alone. Think of it as a small system, not 7 separate magic tricks. Alongside eating this way, I take a short walk after dinner, since movement in the half hour after eating helps pull glucose out of the bloodstream through a pathway that doesn't need insulin. I do 2 minutes of ankle circles and calf raises before bed to activate the natural pump in my calf muscles. And a few nights a week, I soak my feet in warm water with Epsom salt, which some research links to improved local blood flow. These days, I sleep through whole nights without the tingling waking me before dawn. I still drive myself out to see old friends on weekends, something plenty of people my age have quietly stopped being able to do. A man named Thaddeus Okafor wrote to me, 72, a retired postal supervisor from Charlotte, diabetic for 19 years. He told me his feet had been tingling so consistently he'd started keeping his shoes on inside the house just to avoid the sensation of cold floor against bare skin. He started working through this list gradually, adding the fish, the flaxseed, and the evening cottage cheese first, alongside his evening walk. 10 weeks later, he wrote to say the tingling had eased noticeably, especially in the mornings, though not disappeared completely. I share his story as an honest example, not a promise. Everybody responds differently, and food changes work alongside medical care, never instead of it. Let me tell you how I actually work these 7 into a week without it feeling like a chore, because a list nobody follows is just trivia. Monday and Thursday, salmon or sardines for dinner. Canned sardines, honestly, because they're inexpensive and keep in the pantry for months. Every morning, a spoonful of ground flaxseed goes into whatever I'm already eating. Oatmeal most days, yogurt on others. It has almost no taste of its own, so it disappears into the meal. Fenugreek I brew as a tea 2 or 3 nights a week. An acquired taste at first, bitter and a little unusual, but one I've come to genuinely enjoy. The dark chocolate is my evening treat, one small square, which does double duty as something sweet to look forward to and something with real nutritional purpose. Tart cherry juice, unsweetened, I keep in the refrigerator and drink a small glass most nights. Cottage cheese shows up at dinner 3 or 4 times a week, replacing whatever starch I would have eaten otherwise. And the Greek yogurt is breakfast most mornings, plain, sometimes with a few berries mixed in. None of these 7 cost much individually, and buying them doesn't require a special health food store. Every one of them sits on a regular grocery store shelf. For people living on a fixed income, and I know a great many of you are, that matters as much as the science behind each one. I also want to say plainly that this isn't an all-or-nothing list. You don't need all 7 every day to see some benefit. Even picking 2 or 3 that fit naturally into your existing habits is a meaningful start. The people who stall out are usually the ones who try to overhaul everything on day 1 and burn out by day 5. Slow and steady, added one at a time, tends to actually stick. None of what I've described replaces your doctor's plan. If tingling or burning has been part of your life for a while, that's worth raising at your next appointment, not as a substitute for your treatment, but as something to add to the same conversation. I think often about the people my age who are still out walking their neighborhoods, still climbing into their own cars, still showing up for their grandchildren without waiting on someone else to drive them, and the ones who've quietly stopped, who now depend on others for things they used to do without a second thought. The gap between those 2 groups usually isn't dramatic. It's a grocery list filled in with intention that either changed or didn't. It's not too late for your nerves to get the support they've been missing. 20 years of high blood sugar didn't erase what your body is still capable of, given the right materials to work with. If you made it this far, you already understand more about your own legs than most people your age ever will. That matters. You know now that the burning, the numbness, the cold feet, they trace back to one thing: blood sugar slowly working against your nerves and circulation. And you know the goal isn't a miracle. It's protecting your ability to stand, to walk, to stay independent. That's why, alongside everything I showed you today, I use a simple daily support to help keep my blood sugar in a healthy range, so my legs keep carrying me where I want to go. I put the free presentation in the description below. Go watch it. And as always, keep working with your doctor. This supports your routine. It doesn't replace it. Tell me in the comments which of these 7 foods you already eat, and which one surprised you most. I read every one. And if this list helped you, subscribe, because there's more of this ahead.